This is the practice quiz for quiz number 2 on triangles and equations of circles. Number 1 asks us to use the diagram below to find the indicated lengths. It says G is the centroid of triangle ABC, FC equals 25, AG equals 46, BF equals 63, and DG equals 8. So let's fill that information into the picture. So they've said FC equals 25, and we know if it's the centroid that F is the midpoint of that side, because the centroid is made of the medians of a triangle. Remember, the median goes from the vertex of one of your vertices to the midpoint of the opposite side. So BF is a median, CD is a median, which would also make D the midpoint of side AB. And then AE is a median, which makes E the midpoint of side BC, which is helpful. So let's see what else we know. We put FC is 25, so we know AF is also 25. AG is 46. So if AG is 46, remember we know the 2/3, 1/3 rule. And then AG is the longer piece of that median, which is 46. So that could be broken up into 2 equal parts, which are 23. And then the shorter part, which is GE, would also be 23. Then they said BF is 63. So if we notice, BF is the whole median. So let's just divide 63 by 3 and break that up into 3 equal parts that all would equal 21. And that just helps us figure things out nice and quick. So let's put 21, 21, and another 21. And then they said DG is 8. So D to G is the short piece of the median DC, which means there are 2 more 8s from G to C. Then we can probably figure out everything they've asked for now that we've labeled everything we know. So AC, I can tell, is now 50. I've got that labeled. 25 plus 25 would give me 50. BG is 21 plus 21 right there, so that would be 42. Let's see, GC is 8 plus 8. That piece right there we've got labeled with the 2 8s would give us 16. And then AE is the total median, and each part of that was 23. So then 23 times 3 would be 69. So that's it for number 1. Let's take a look at number 2. 2 says point A is the end center of triangle PQR. So if you remember from our constructions, end center is made up of the angle bisectors of a triangle. So we know in each corner of this triangle, these angles would be congruent to each other. They are bisected. So for instance, we know those are both going to be 40 degrees right there. We know the top 2 are equal to each other, so we can solve for x. So let's go ahead and say 3x plus 2 would equal 4x minus 9. And we could subtract 3x from both sides, and we get 2 equals x minus 9. And we could add 9, and we get x equals 11. And we could plug it back in. So 3 times 11 plus 2 will give us 33 plus 2 is 35 degrees for each one of those. So let's see what we need to find out over here. So ARU, angle ARU, is the one we've already labeled as 40 degrees, because that one was equal to the one right next to it. They've asked us to find AU, and I notice in this picture that would equal AK and AT, but we don't have any of those labeled, so let's just fill one in. And let's say those are equal to 15. And if we knew one of them was 15, we would know all of them are 15. And since we're just reviewing for the quiz, let's just remind ourselves that all 3 of those would be equal. And if we knew one of them, then we know all 3 of those are equal. And those are also perpendicular to the edge of the triangle. And then angle QPK. So let's see, Q to P to K, we figured out was 35 degrees. So we did not do all that work for no reason. We got that angle was 35. All right, now that's it for number 2. Let's take a look at number 3. It says the state fair has set up the location of the Midway M livestock competition, L, and the food vendors, F. The fair planners wish for the restrooms to be located so that it is the same distance to Midway, the livestock competition, and the food vendors. Identify which center of triangles would represent the best location for the bathrooms and explain why you chose that one. So what would be the best location for the bathrooms would be the circumcenter, because circumcenter is the only center of a triangle that is equidistant to the vertices, which in this case are the locations around the state fair that they want it to be centered in between. So let's just write that out. Circumcenter would be best because it is equidistant to the vertices, which are the locations, and just to abbreviate, we'll use what they said, M, L, and F. So locations, Midway, livestock, and food vendors. So that would be the best fit, circumcenter, because it's equidistant to the vertices if this was a little triangle when we connected them all. And that would be it for number 3. All right, number 4 says to graph a circle that has the center point at -3, -4, and a radius of 5 on the graph below. So let's go to -3, -4, and plot the center. So we got to go left 3 and down 4 and plot the center point. And then a radius of 5 means go from your center point in each direction. So I'm going to go right 5 and put a point. I'm going to go up 5 and put a point. I'm going to go left 5 and down 5. And then just draw a circle as best you can. And that's it. And in the last question, it says to write the following equation of a circle in standard form. State the equation in standard form, the center of the circle, and the length of its radius. So let's recall that standard form of a circle looks like this. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals the radius squared. Our center point is always the h and the k, and then the radius is always the r. So we use completing the square to put this circle into standard form. So gather up your x's. So x squared plus 12x, let's put those in one parentheses, and leave room to complete the square. So add a blank. Put a plus sign, gather up the y values. So y squared plus 6y. Leave room to complete the square. Keep 5 on the other side. And then what you add to the left, you just have to also add to the right. All right, so then we complete the square by taking half of b, which was 12. So half of 12 is 6. And we square that to complete the square, which would give us 36. So you just make sure to put that on both sides. Then do the same thing for the y values. So half of b, which is 6, squared. So half of 6 is 3. 3 squared is 9. And then we're going to rewrite our perfect square trinomial is what we've created by completing the square. And we just have to rewrite that as a binomial squared. So x squared plus 12x plus 36 is equal to x plus 6 squared. So we just rewrite it that way because they are equivalent. Those are the factors, in other words. And then y squared plus 6y plus 9 is equivalent to y plus 3 squared because the factors would be y plus 3, y plus 3. Then we just have to add up their numbers over here. So we get 5 plus 36 plus 9 would give us a total of 50. And this is the equation. So we would just want to write this and put that right there for the equation. Then pick out the center point. So remember to change the sign of your values when you pick them out for the center. So we put -6, -3. Then the radius will always be the square root of what it's equal to. So the square root of 50, which is about 7.1. And you can leave it that way. You can give me the square root of 50, and if it doesn't come out even, just round it to like the nearest tenth. And that's it for number 5.